Hi, I'm James Lees and I'm very privileged today to be in Sir Peter Scott's house up in the tower looking out across the banks of the River Severn. Welcome to our new monthly update, Wildwatch. Every month we'll be bringing you a greater variety of the goings-on at Slimbridge. Not only will we be featuring the wildlife sightings like we used to in Wildlife Weekly, but we'll also be now having a closer look at other areas at Slimbridge, such as our amphibians and our collection, and we'll also be taking a look behind the scenes. Well, I'm up here in Sir Peter Scott's tower, and this is where he did much of his observation work of the Bewick swan study. And you can actually see them just over my left-hand shoulder there. You can see them out in the reserve where they're busy grazing away on our really good pasture. And we've had a good arrival of Bewick swans in the last few weeks, but also a large number of geese and ducks. And the wind and rain have created lots of really good feeding out on our reserve. So lots of flooded areas where huge numbers of wading birds, things like golden plover, lapwing and dunlin, and this really is ideal conditions for them. So now's a really good time to come down and see all these birds whilst they're spread out in big numbers on the reserve. Now we've also had the arrival of another swan, and this is the hooper swan. These tend to winter further north in the UK, so we were lucky to have this one drop in for a few days just in one of the pools right in front of the centre where we got excellent views of it. Also in a very similar area, we've been joined by a greater scaup, which is a sea duck which breeds either in Iceland or Siberia, and tend to find these birds will come in when there's been bad weather. So the recent winds would have almost certainly blown this bird in, and it gives you a really good chance to study it amongst the tufted ducks because these can be very similar looking birds at times. Now it's a bit of a Sir Peter Scott feature this month, but we have to mention the white-fronted geese that we got here. Peter Scott was first attracted here to the banks of the Severn estuary at Slimbridge because of the large number of European white-fronted geese which spend the winter months here. And it was actually looking through these birds and having a very careful look at them that he realised there was two different types of this species. And he first described the Greenland white-fronted goose back in 1948. And the two different subspecies of white-fronted geese breed in completely different areas. We're lucky this week to be joined by both in our flock of European white-fronted geese, which have a pink beak and silvery plumage. We're joined by these much darker brown birds with a much longer orange beak coming down from Greenland. So this is a great opportunity to observe the two species side by side here at Slimbridge.
Hi there, I'm John Crooks, the mammal manager here at Slimbridge, and as you can probably hear from the chainsaws, we're getting ready for winter. Mr. Beaver has already started. He's in his new Desres lodge behind me, and with the shortening day lengths, he is more visible early morning and late evening. You can see him from the Mesolithic hut behind me, and a good trick, if all the ducks and the geese go to one end of the pond, then Mr. Beaver's probably at the other end. They're not too sure about him. And with the chainsawing, we're actually pollarding a lot of the willows, which is ideal food for Mr. Beaver. We'll add it to his lodge and he'll either construct his extension or make bedding out of it within the lodge itself. The beavers don't actually hibernate for winter, but they do slow down, like most of us, for the cold winter months. He'll spend a lot more time in the lodge. So to help him stay warm and cosy, we give him a bit more straw, but he'll also make his own bedding by stripping down the wood from the hardwood from the middle of the trees and the poplars to make almost wood wool to keep him warm. He'll also have his built-in hot water bottle where he actually sits on his tail, which is bare, keeps it warm with his fur, but also puts his feet on it to give him nice and warm tutsies.
Hello there, my name's Phoebe Young and I'm one of the aviculturalists here at Slimbridge, and we're in Wadeshore today to check up on the successful introduction of 4 juveniles, 3 red shank and 1 ruff. They've been released into the exhibit and they are acclimatising quite well. The wader exhibit started out in life at Slimbridge as a precursor to the Spoonbill Sandpiper project, and now that is now fully fledged. We are still experiencing some really positive results of our own aviculturally in the wader exhibit. The ruff was in fact the first one we've ever reared here at Slimbridge. The 3 red shank are very important because hopefully with only 1 female left in the flock they will bolster numbers for the future. They're quite identifiable from the adult birds. The juvenile red shank are very pale in colour, but additionally haven't got their lovely namesake red legs yet. And the ruff, in comparison to the adults, is chocolate brown. He's absolutely handsome. But I say he, we're not sure yet. We've taken some feather samples which we'll send off for DNA analysis, and hopefully we'll be able to find out in due course who is who. So for anybody wishing to come down to Slimbridge and have a little look at these juvenile waders, there's quite a challenge ahead of you. In addition to the red shank and ruff, also the avocets reared this year, but they parent reared. So the juvenile avocets are of a real triumph because the parents have proven that they are able to protect their juveniles against all the interaction with other birds in the exhibit. In an ideal world, we would love to be able to parent rear all of the wader species here in the aviary, but unfortunately, possibly due to their population size, the avocets are definitely the top dogs in here, and especially being allowed to rear themselves, I don't think that the other species would interact well. So as a result, we made the decision to collect the eggs of those species and do them by hand up in the duckery. So that's involved me hatching them out at 8-9 grams in size and rearing them up through all the various stages until you see them today. So hopefully in the future the wader exhibit will continue to be relatively self-sustaining and to allow everyone to get really close to some of the more exciting waders that you hear in the Severn Valley.
So I'm Jay. I'm just going to tell you a little bit about what we've been getting up to in Toad Hall over the last couple of weeks. We've been breeding our red-eyed tree frogs, which are a species found in Costa Rica and in Central and South America. And they're a species that we display in Toad Hall. And what I use to get them to breed is I use this rain chamber here, which produces shower sort of raindrops using these rain shower heads. And then once the red-eyed tree frogs are ready to lay their eggs, they'll lay their eggs on the side of this chamber and also on the leaves and the vegetation. Once the eggs are ready to hatch, they'll actually drip into the water below. So what I do is I'll catch them up in a container with some water and then we'll transfer them into this tank here. Now the tadpoles are very, very different to our tadpoles that you find in the UK, because whereas our tadpoles will move using the whole of their tail, they flick the end of their tail to move through the water. So what we've been doing recently with our crayfish is we've been conditioning them to breed. We're trying to get them to breed this year. So Helen's been looking at the different sexes, splitting them up into groups, into breeding groups, in the hope that they will start breeding and the females will bed down with their eggs. Now it's a little bit of a project that we've got going on with Bristol Zoo. Bristol Zoo have provided us with the crayfish in the hope that maybe if we do breed them, we can send them back to them and they could use them for their potential reintroductions in their ARC populations.
If you've enjoyed this video, share it with your friends and followers on Facebook and Twitter. And we'd really like to hear your feedback on how you like the new format of the show, and you can do this in the comments section below. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our news e-letter, and you can keep up to date with all our latest episodes and events at our centre.